We are continuing to follow that big breaking news out of D.C. Councilmember Trayon White is being charged with bribery. He's accused of agreeing to over $150,000 in bribes to help companies get city contracts. White was arrested yesterday and appeared in court today. He has represented Ward 8 on the D.C. Council since 2017.
Yeah, we have our team covering White's indictment and gathering new reaction to his arrest. Our Lionel Donovan is in Ward 8 talking with some of our neighbors and White's constituents. But we want to begin with our Rafael Sanchez Cruz, who has more on what White is actually accused of doing. Update us, Rafa.
Yeah, Lorenzo, it was essentially a company owner here in D.C. who was facing federal charges for stealing COVID relief funds, who agreed to work with the FBI in this operation in exchange for a plea deal for himself. Now, that person's name is never mentioned in this complaint. However, prosecutors say the conversations the person had with Councilmember White are all on video. Now, this criminal complaint says that the Ward 8 council member accepted 4 cash payments of $35,000 each between June and August. During several of the meetups, prosecutors say White is seen in video taking envelopes with cash anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. In exchange, White would use his position as a council member to pressure government employees at the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement and the Department of Youth and Rehabilitation Services to extend several DC contracts. Now, those contracts were valued at $5.2 million and were intended to provide violence intervention services here in the district. Now, today, in an unrelated news conference, Mayor Muriel Bowser said she was disappointed and called this case troubling. Let's look.
Anytime any part of the government is questioned in this way, it distracts from the very important work that has to be done. If we are talking about offices that are focused on keeping people out of harm's way, preventing violence, especially with our focus on alternatives to law enforcement strategies, which we're very committed to. This also puts those very effective strategies at risk.
Yeah, in this criminal complaint, it says that it was Councilmember White himself who suggested to this company owner that they try to venture out and expand and secure other types of contracts in other areas, including mental health and housing. He called housing a cash cow. Now, that company owner said he also gave Councilmember White other types of gifts like trips to Las Vegas and the Dominican Republic. Councilmember White is due back here at federal court on September 19th. Simone, Lorenzo.
All right, Rafa, we know that the council member's up for re-election this November, so it'll be interesting to see how these charges, how this impacts the race moving forward. Up to the voters. Rafa, thank you. And on that same note, right now, we have new reaction from D.C. residents about the charges against Councilmember White.
Our Lionel Donovan spent the day in Ward 8, which White has represented on the D.C. Council since 2017. And just to see what people there had to say, Lionel, bring us up to speed here. What have people heard?
Good afternoon, Simone. Well, I've spent the day speaking with folks here in the Southeast, and many in Ward 8 say they support their councilman. However, some say they don't appreciate White being selective about the organizations that he supported, and others are concerned about the optics surrounding White's arrest.
Everything I done seen him do was for the community to help and, provide stable jobs and look out for people in the community realm. Not just, just trying to help the big wigs. He always was out here helping the small people too.
Whatever's done in the dark will come to the light. That's how I feel. I feel as like you can't pick and choose who you help in the community. Gun violence is everywhere, So I don't think you should just pick and choose who you help.
They made a public spectacle of this. And this is what we need to understand. So whether he's guilty or innocent, the culture itself is guilty, and these practices need to come to an end.
Now, Lorenzo, as you were saying earlier, White is up for re-election this November. He won his primary back in June against 2 challengers and will be facing off against Republican Nate Duringe later this year. Now, I'll also say that I did get a chance to speak to a gentleman who said that if he had the opportunity, he would vote for Trayon White again. But for now, we're live in Ward 8. Lionel Donovan, WUSA 9.
No matter how you feel, it is still shocking to hear these charges coming down for someone who is poised to potentially win a third term in November. Lionel Donovan reporting for us tonight. Thank you. Be sure to stick with WUSA 9 for continuing coverage of this story. Coming up at 6, our Eric Flack takes a deeper dive into the case against White. And right now on WUSA9.com, we have posted the court documents laying out the case. You can read those documents yourself by scanning this QR code or downloading the WUSA 9 app.